Good morning. Here I am wearing a second hat. Please find your seats and prepare for the morning service. It's lovely to see you all here. To those of you here with us in the sanctuary, please be advised the service is being streamed on YouTube. To those of you watching the streamed service, we're glad to have you watching, but would of course rather have you here with us in person. Also, let me remind you that we have a pre and post-service Zoom event, which also runs the YouTube stream of the service. Please make sure you read the announcement in your printed order of service. Also, and especially, be sure to read the weekly events that are emailed to you each Thursday, as well as the unigram and the website. I urge you to keep our website, your website, open as a tab on your internet browser so you can keep up with what's happening. Please practice social distancing and mask wearing per board-approved guidelines. Please do not take chances. We do not want to lose you or your loved ones. And now Emilio has an announcement.
So I just wanted to briefly announce that this coming week, Andrea will be sending an email with the information about some of the changes we're implementing. We're going to have some things coming up that hopefully will get us back to more or less normal, eventually have some coffee and other things available. We're still going to have to keep the mask. The CDC has some new guidelines on Friday that will change a little bit how things are implemented in places like this, but if you follow the guidelines that just came out, we're still at a high transmission area, so we still need to wear the mask when we're in closed spaces. But there's some good things coming up, coffee for those who enjoy that part of, getting together. Hopefully we can have committee meetings inside as long as you wear the mask, and some of the things that will come in that announcement. I just wanted to let everybody know. Okay.
Well, that's good news. Yeah, Linda.
This is a good opportunity to add to that about the coffee time. There will be notices coming out that we need cookies and we need help. We can't have coffee hour if we don't have more help in the kitchen. So any of you who might be inclined, I would be happy to sign you up and bring cookies. Starting next week, you can bring the cookies.
Bring cookies next week? Okay, so Linda is telling us that it looks like we really are going to have a coffee hour, but we can't have a coffee hour without coffee volunteers and cookies. And so anybody who would like to volunteer should contact Linda McLeod. Today's flowers were brought in by me, and they are in memory of my mother, Ethel Cross. My mother loved flowers, plants, birds, reptiles, anything that lived. She had an undergraduate degree in geology when no woman had an undergraduate degree in geology. And she was our Girl Scout leader, and all of our badges were nature badges, and we didn't get a single thing in midwifery, cooking, sewing. Yeah. She wasn't interested in those things. And she spent her adult life trying to grow plants, especially roses, in Stony Point in Rockland County, New York. So, let us center ourselves for today's service and remember to silence all electronic devices as we listen to the prelude.
Carrying on that spirit of remembrance, our prelude this morning is Ancestors, Sky People. We can remember those ancestors and loved ones who have gone before us. This song is from the Dances of Universal Peace, and it's by Harmony Grisman and Misha Sayes. Mackenzie is going to help, if you choose, in leading us in some motions that go with the song. Ancestor, sky people, all here today. Hear my heart song. Hear my respect. Hear my love. Hear my grateful tears fall. I am truly blessed. You are truly blessed. We are truly blessed. Ancestor sky people all here today, hear my heart song, hear my respect, hear my love, hear my grateful tears fall. I am truly blessed. You are truly blessed. We are truly blessed. Ancestor sky people all here today, hear my heart song, hear my respect, hear my love, hear my grateful tears fall. I am truly blessed. You are truly blessed. We are truly blessed.
Lovely. Thank you, both. Please stand and join me in the congregational covenant. Covenant is found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. My name is Jessica Cross, and I am your service leader of the day. Our minister is the Reverend Stephen Robinson, and we are very fortunate to have him with us today. On those Sundays when he is not in the pulpit, we present a variety of interesting speakers from the congregation or from recognized guests from the wider community. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. We are a covenantal religion, which means we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. Our community is based on deeds, not creeds. As Unitarian Universalists, we side with love, embracing all people, regardless of age, color, race, socioeconomic status, physical ability, or religious background. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we also embrace LGBTQ individuals. We encourage everyone to wear name tags, so we may know each other better or at all. Board members wear green name tags, and they always welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions. Would the members of our Board of Trustees please rise now so that you may be recognized? A good showing, very good, thank you. At this time, we would like to recognize any guests or visitors who are with us today. If you are willing and able, please rise and share with us your name and where you are from. Or if you have guests with you, please feel free to introduce them. Please wait for the microphone, which Reverend Stephen will haul around. Tote that part. No. Okay, we don't seem to have visitors or brave souls, one or the other. When we are further along in our recovery, which looks like it will be sooner rather than later, we will take time to greet each other. And I will tell you, at that point, you are all welcome to stay and consider your conversations and enjoy refreshments in the social hall, but not yet. So it looks like not a wonderful day out, but people are certainly welcome to congregate outside. And now for our chalice lighter. Our chalice lighter this week is Joe Long. Joe first entered a UU church in 1974 on his first Sunday in Knoxville, Tennessee, although he'd already read a whole book about UUism. He immediately felt at home, particularly impressed by the wide range of sources where they sought inspiration and their respect for reason. He was subsequently a member of Mount Diablo UU in Walnut Creek, California, where, among other things, he designed their first website and served as vice president of the board of trustees. Since coming here in 2000, he's held the offices of treasurer, president of the congregation, and various others. He now chairs the endowment committee and the building and grounds subcommittee on security, and is quite an accomplished photographer, and you'll see at least one of his works up on the wall there. Thank you, Joe. Spirit of light and life, come unto us.
Thank you, Jessica. You can actually see more than one of Joe's photographic works. If you look on the other side, all of the board pictures and staff photos, right, are also by Joe. And he made us look good, which is an accomplishment. So. Today, our service focuses on death and our relationship to our own finitude, our relationship to our own mortality. Our opening words today come from Emily Dickinson's poem, which I borrowed partly for the title of the sermon and service as well. Her poem is entitled, "Because I Could Not Stop for Death." Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun, or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet, only to lay. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling on the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feel shorter than the day I first surmised the horse's head were toward eternity.
This morning, as we move into our musical meditation, we think of the Ukrainian people and hold them in our hearts and in this space today. This composition is the second rhapsody on Ukrainian themes by Ukrainian composer Mykola Lysenko. He lived in Kyiv from 1842 to 1912. Very proud of his Ukrainian heritage, he collected and arranged Ukrainian folk songs, which were published in 7 volumes. He was an artistic resistor to Russian autocracy and the restrictions and censorship of the Russian Imperial Music Society. And thus he chose to never compose any music set to the Russian language, nor allow any translations of his works into the Russian language. For his stands, he was in jail briefly in 1907 and became the head of the Ukrainian Club and Association of National Public Figures in Kyiv, and towards the end of his life raised funds to open a Ukrainian school of music.
Thank you, Anna. for your beautiful playing, but also bringing his voice and art into this space this morning. At this time, we take a few moments in our worship to light candles for community. This is an opportunity for us to light a candle, share a joy or concern with each other that we wish to be known, to be remembered, to be felt and connected in this space. It's also a chance for us to connect with those who are watching virtually as they share joys and concerns as well, and create this hybrid community together of both in-person and virtual, or watching it later and connecting with us. So I invite you, if you're watching virtually, to please send a candle that you would like to have named in the space prior to the service, and we can make sure that we do that. If you're attending in person, there are always candles in the foyer that you can pick up. And so at this time, I invite anyone who would like to light a candle to come forward, briefly share your joy or concern into the microphone, and then light a candle.
I'm Deb Matherly, and this is joy first for our Supreme Court nominee-elect Ketanji Brown Jackson, and also concern with Ukraine. Grandmothers for Peace was founded in 1982 in California. I started a Maryland chapter in 2002 at the run-up to the war in Iraq. Lorraine Kravchuk is one of the original members and has been the director since 2001. I received this email from her yesterday. It's short. Dear Grandmothers for Peace, I am Ukrainian. No, not the very touching, symbolic solidarity Ukrainian. I am Ukrainian. It is my heritage. My heart breaks because I am unable to run downtown and stand with other Ukrainians. In spirit just doesn't work for me, my own angst. Since I have personal in-home health care challenges, my active is limited. After 20 years of trying to make a difference, a better, safer world for the future, I sit in grief and frustration. The adoration of Putin by the former president is disgusting, deplorable, and despicable. The silence of his political admiration society is abhorrent. His followers are a disgrace to our democracy and freedoms. The courage of the Ukrainians and the anti-war protests of the Russians bring tears of admiration and solidarity. Many of you remember our days in the streets, yet these brave people face grave danger. How will it all end? I do not know, and neither does anyone else. Will the madman Putin unleash those nukes we so vehemently protested front and center for 40 years on our GFP shirts? I often wrote, we change the logo when the threat is gone. We hope, we watch, we listen, and we do. Do what your mind tells you. Peace to all of us, Lorraine. So I light this candle for Ukraine and for the courage and strength to stand up for freedom and our democratic values against authoritarian bullies anywhere and everywhere. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Clements, and I was just going to do one candle of concern or sorrow, but I'm going to say something else after Deb. I have the husband of my first cousin that I grew up with is basically dying from COVID right now in Beaufort. Seems like I've been up here talking about death several times over the past few months, but this has been deeply disturbing to the family, obviously, but it's made much worse and caused us to reflect more, including his sister and her wider family, as well as the child. He was a rabid anti-vaxxer, anti-mask, QAnon, over the top, very aggressive about it. So it's caused some rifts in the family. And people have raised, should he be getting health care? I mean, he should get everything he can. He's on a respirator that's breathing for him. They've tried everything to get him to breathe for himself. He can't do it. So I wish him all the best, and I'll light the candle for him. And the second thing is, you may have heard this morning that Putin supposedly put nuclear forces on high alert. I don't know what that means, and of course it may be bombast, we don't know, but it's of huge concern, and I just want to point out, it draws us here in South Carolina not only morally into the whole issue, but physically. The Savannah River site in Aiken processes all the tritium that goes into all the U.S. nuclear weapons to boost their explosive power. They want to build a new nuclear bomb factory over there to amp up the nuclear arms race, to make the plutonium cores of nuclear weapons, for new nuclear weapons. And it's a hugely of concern what he said and what the U.S. response, or global response, is going to be, and we can only pray that cooler heads are going to prevail in that whole conflict and any spin-offs like confrontation with the West with nuclear weapons. So I light this tiny candle for peace in Ukraine as well as for Doug. Thank you.
I'd like to light a candle for Celeste Viest. They were planning to be here as our drummer today, but had unexpectedly to go into the hospital due to abdominal pain that's been checked out, and they're doing okay. So I'll follow up with Celeste today to see how they're doing, and hope that they'll be here with their percussive skills in our future.
I'm Susan Robinson, and a little sad today because I'm going back to Portland on Tuesday. I'm so glad we're open again and seeing each other. This is a candle that I'd like to light for our Romanian partner church friends, because they're right next door, frightened, I'm sure, and about to receive a whole lot of refugees to take care of.
This final candle that I light is for the joys, the concerns that we bring into this space that are silent, maybe too intimate to share, but are still just as important. I invite you into a time of silence to reflect on what you've felt and heard over the past couple of minutes as we've shared. Thank you. As we prepare to receive our offering this morning, it is my pleasure to introduce Sue Berkowitz from the Appleseed Justice Center, who is our Share the Plate recipient for this month. Sue is going to share a little bit about the great work of the Justice Center.
Good morning. It's just such a pleasure to be with all of you and in person, and I so appreciate that, and just overwhelmed that I get to be here when you're all back together again in person, and especially during the times that are going on right now in the world around us. I can't imagine spending it with a group of people with more love and comfort and caring in their hearts. And so thank you so much for welcoming me here. South Carolina Appleseed Legal Justice Center has really been a longtime partner with the Columbia UU. Our work is to work with and behalf of low-wealth South Carolinians to help them have a voice, but also to develop the skills and be advocates for themselves, along with all of us in the community who advocate for the very issues that I know are near and dear to your hearts, whether it's criminal justice reform, health care for all, consumer protection, education, and of course, welcoming all people to our country, including those and the voices of immigrants who should only feel welcome in our country. And I can't thank you enough for all the support that you've provided us and the voices that, your voice that you use here in Columbia, but also on a statewide level to make a difference in South Carolina and help us with making it the state we know it can be. And I also wanted to say I'm really honored to be part of SCUJA, which is the South Carolina Unitarian Universalist Justice Alliance that's being led by Reverend Pippin Whitaker and being on the provisional board, because both the vision, which is an inclusive voice of all people through SCUJA, as well as addressing issues that often go unaddressed, are two things that are important to me, both personally and to Appleseed. And I look forward to working with you both through Appleseed, but also in the work that we're going to do to make SCUJA a strong voice here in South Carolina. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Sue, and it is our pleasure to partner with you and the Justice Center in the great work that you do. If you would like to donate, of course, you can put cash in the plate, but you can also donate directly through our website or by writing a check and designating it with an offering envelope to the share of the plate. At this time, I invite our ushers to come forward and receive our offering.
Our offertory music is May Your Life Be As a Song by Jim Scott from Yuri Zavitsky. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing like the light and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing like the light and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing like the light and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be
we receive this offering as a symbol of our generosity and commitment to the good work of the UUCC. I have to tell you that I think the rain is timely today, because I know y'all aren't really anxious to get back outside. So I've been able to narrow this sermon down to an hour and a half. So I just figured if it was beautiful weather outside, it would be really bitter about sitting here that long. But with the weather, perfect. And of course, the rain also connects with, as Ernest Hemingway would always have rainy scenes around sadness, death in his novels. This week, the Christian community, our Christian friends and neighbors, will gather in various places, either in worship houses or in other locations, and celebrate what has become known as Ash Wednesday, a ritual that dates back to the 11th century, where ashes are made from palms, from the trees that were used, the palm branches that were used the previous year for Palm Sunday and the celebration. This is a way for the Christian community to begin the Lenten observances of fasting or abstaining in preparations for the celebration of Easter. It's also a way to connect to the physical body and connect the physical body to the inner spirituality with a visible sign of the cross on the forehead, just in case you come across that on Wednesday and see someone that you don't, say, you have something on your head. They will say, I know I do. The ritual is meant to be a reminder of our mortality. The words are said, you are dust, and to dust you will return. I've been thinking about that reminder of our mortality and wondering if we truly, at this point, need a reminder of our mortality. Over 972,000 deaths in the U.S. alone from the coronavirus, just under 6 million deaths worldwide. The looming war in the Ukraine that has already ended so many lives and will only grow in numbers. Threats of violence every day, accidents that happen. And then if we somehow survive all of that, diseases that are diagnosed. And then just the simple act of growing old and our bodies breaking down. We are reminded constantly of our mortality. And we spend a great deal of our life trying to avoid death, avoid thinking about it, avoid talking about it, and getting past the awkward conversation of even naming it out loud. Even in healthcare, we struggle to use the word die. We say things like passed, or one of my least favorite, expired. I can't get on board with that one. But we spend a lot of energy trying to avoid this conversation, and I have to say that even starting our service today by saying our service is focusing on death, I saw at least half of the congregation think, is this a good time to leave? Would anyone notice if I just stepped out right now? The great Chinese writer Lu Xun says, when you put sugar into bitter tea, the amount of bitterness remains the same. It only tastes less bitter than without any sugar in it at all. What a beautiful image as he was describing how we try to sugarcoat the experience of death or sugarcoat the way that we talk about it. The tea is still just as bitter as it always was, even if the taste is different for us. This reminder of our mortality, awareness of our own death as being a part of life, is a necessary part of emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual wholeness. The UU minister, Forrest Church, who died of cancer at the age of 61, said that death is central to my definition of religion. Religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. For me, not only is it a part of my spirituality, it's also been a part of my life. Many of you all know that I have a side job apart from the UUCC of working in healthcare, and I've spent 20 years working in healthcare and focusing on spiritual care, most of that, about 18 of those 20 years, with the hospice services of various places where I've worked. One of the things that I've noticed among hospice patients, obviously with hospice, with death, there's always an ending, there's always a loss. But often with hospice patients, whether it's due to long fights with some kind of disease or just the dread of trying to figure out when to fight, when to let go, and to focus on living, one of the things that I have seen over and over again from hospice patients is relief. When they are told, this is how long you have to live, there is nothing really you can do. Obviously, there's grief, obviously, there's anxiety and loss, but in the midst of that, there's often relief. All right, I know, there's an end. There is a definite end that's out there. Now I can let go and focus on life, focus on how I want to spend my life. There is a relief in the knowing. One of my favorite therapists, as an existentialist myself, really connect to Emmy van Derzen, who is a Dutch-English existential psychotherapist, believes that that relief comes from coming face to face with the fear that haunts us the most, the fear of death that is deeply rooted in our experience of being human, and the wondering, when is it going to happen? When you deal with that fear head on, she says the other fears then become way more manageable as we have dealt with this giant, inherent, primal fear. Emmy van Derzen has taken, in her 70s, to taking advantage of the virtual format that is made a part of the pandemic, and she has wonderful 10-minute sessions. If you don't have a personal therapist and you would like at least a little bit of an experience of a therapist, I encourage you to watch some of Emmy van Derzen's beautiful 10-minute talks about death, about anxiety, about panic, about relationships. She is quite a voice of connection for me. And she says when we deal with that fear head on, that big fear that's looming, all the other fears tend to fall to the wayside, or at least if they don't fall to the wayside, they become less powerful in our lives. Woody Allen has said that he was not afraid to die. He just doesn't want to be there when it happens. Maybe we feel that way as well. The great thing is that with that awareness that death is out there, that fear, that relief that can come from knowing that it's going to happen, we don't really have to wait until we're facing a diagnosis or given an unexpected time to live to be aware of our own death. Many philosophers have articulated that the only absolute certainty of life is that we will die. Van Derzen encourages a deep awareness of this pending death as a way to face that fear and to free the self to a deeper level of life, a deeper level of freedom. The anxiety around our own death and the fear of that death has less impact in our day-to-day lives than the fears of not adding up, not being enough, not belonging, not being accepted or acceptable. Those are the fears that really bind us up, cause panic and anxiety on any given day. The fear that we're just not good enough can often transcend any fear of our own death. But a healthy relationship with the ultimate anxiety around our own death can give us the courage and the tools to deal with these other fears and anxieties that haunt our daily lives. Awareness of our own death opens us up to deep levels of love. Another favorite existential therapist, Rollo May, tells the beautiful story of standing, getting ready for bed one night and goes by his daughter's bedroom door and opens the door and stands and looks in, as we parents often do, if you haven't installed Ring cameras into their rooms yet. I wouldn't recommend that, actually. They do become teenagers one day, and that backfires on you. But Rollo May tells the beautiful experience of standing in her doorway and watching her as she was lying on the bed asleep, and says he allowed his mind to wander, and this is typical of an existentialist. As his mind wanders and he sees her lying there, he begins to think about her death and recognizes that one day she will die, and looks at how peaceful she is, how calm in the face of that she might be, but ultimately the sadness and the grief of her pending death overwhelms him. And then he says something amazing happens. Rollo May says felt like a floor to the love that he felt for her, and it just went away. And his love for her just opened into a bottomless well of overwhelming love. That is the power of facing our own mortality in an honest way. It's not that we are just focusing on darkness and gloom and despair. It is we know that there is a well of love it can open up within us when we value life in that kind of way. Isn't that what we do here at the UUCC? We often face death literally as a community together, holding each other, comforting each other. Just behind me, outside these windows, is a memorial garden where we have gathered and said goodbye to so many friends. And we comfort each other, we hold each other in the face of death, gathering and saying goodbye and believing what Maury Schwartz told Mitch Albom on one of his Tuesday visits, that death ends a life, not a relationship. But we also here at the UUCC embrace the hard conversations, the realities of life. We name it, as we have even done this morning in our service. We name it out loud. So much of church and religion these days has become amusement. To not take a break literally from thinking, if you think about the word amuse, to literally not think. We take a break in our services from thinking and worrying about things in our lives. At the UUCC, we tend to err on the other side of that. We think a lot here. And anytime that we think something is becoming amusing, well, we tamper it down with more thought. And I love it because I believe that our thinking is central to our spirituality. And because of our deep awareness and courageousness to have conversations and name subjects that aren't often amusing, but need to be talked about, because of our deep awareness of our own mortality, we have deep wells of love that exist in this place. And that deep love then becomes the foundation and the central force and the energy of our spiritual practice. That high level of awareness and consciousness then becomes the ultimate goal of our awareness of death. The great French philosopher Albert Camus said that we get into the habit of living before acquiring the habit of thinking. And in that race which daily hastens us toward death, the body maintains its irreparable lead. As true as that is, here at the UUCC, we definitely gained some ground on strengthening our level of thinking, our level of awareness, our level of consciousness. Returning to Emmy Van Deurzen, The awareness of death can bring a sense of elation and euphoria because, as she says, the worst has happened. You know now you're going to die. You've become aware of it. You know that you are time limited. So all that matters now is to feel that life through you, to connect to the web of existence around you, and to be aware of your aliveness. We become aware of this amazing miracle that each one of us are little units of consciousness, connecting a connecting box to the universe. This place where time becomes active and meaning and purpose can develop. We are amazing pockets of consciousness. If nothing else from today, leave from this place knowing that you are an amazing pocket of consciousness. Connected to the entire cosmos, we are restrained by our finitude and the limits of our human body. And no matter what we believe about the afterlife, we know that the spark of our essence, our energy, will be more free and more connected once this body dies. Our spark will move forward into a flow of consciousness, of spirit, whether we have a religious image for that or an atheistic image. We feel that deep connection, and we become aware of our potential to tap into that, even with our current restraints in our physical body. So we have this pocket of consciousness that we are holding, this time-limited life of awareness and connection, with the invitation then to make the most of this life that we value and love. And so we ask ourselves, in the voice of one of our favorite poets, Mary Oliver, what is it that we plan to do with this one wild and precious life?
Elizabeth Harris joins me for today's closing song, Great Spirit's Hands by Ma Muse. Overdue and overdressed, under blankets as old as earth. Through the seasons there's a reckoning of how we die and we take birth. So in between all our holy whispers, in the marketplace of our dreams, we dance, dance, dance for all the beauty and all the obscene. 'Cause life is short and it's our duty to shake it up while we can, to be worn, ragged, used up by a great spirit's hands, by a great spirit's hands. Doobity-doo, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-doobity-doo, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-doobity-doo, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-doobity-doo. Walk outside, there is no doorway, only wet ground from the rain. And the dewdrops live in treetops, they know nothing of personal gain. And all the leaves, they will fall, yeah, believe they will fall, and we will do the same, yeah. But we dance, dance, dance for all the treetops and the skies that give the rain. 'Cause life is short and it's our duty to shake it up while we can, to be worn, ragged, used up by a great spirit's hands, by a great spirit's hands. Doobity-doo, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-doobity-doo, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-doobity-doo, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-doobity-doo. And in the morning, a child will come to us. An old woman will go the other way. Through the tunnel of dark and light, birth and death, it's one and the same. And does the dragonfly get lonely as she dies? In the palm of my hand, I offer it up, all I do, and don't understand. 'Cause life is short and it's our duty to shake it up while we can. To be worn, ragged, used up by a great spirit's hands. By a great spirit's hands. Doobity-doo, ba-dum-bum-bum. Ba-doobity-doo, ba-dum-bum-bum. Ba-doobity-doo, ba-dum-bum-bum. Ba-doobity-doo.
Thank you, Anna and Elizabeth. And I know you don't have to confess it now, but some of you are going to go back on YouTube and watch that later and dance a little bit, right? Thank you so much. Beautiful. So we accept the invitation this week to remind ourselves that we are dust and ashes. But out of that ash rises the brilliant light of our chalice. It is our symbol of overwhelming connection, deep love, and our potent force as little pockets of consciousness. So as we extinguish this flame, let us leave this place as little pockets of consciousness, fully aware of our aliveness and our potential. We are the UUCC.
I invite you to join me in singing our congregational benediction.